live. Hi everyone. No one's here yet, but hopefully soon you will be here. I'm Hayley Blackburn, and I'm one of the student success coaches working in the Student Success Resource Center over for HSS. And of course, isolation is setting in quite a bit. We've been working from home since the start of spring break, and now, starting tomorrow, officially, all your classes, they're all going to be online. Hello, welcome. And so it's just, I think it's really important that we use the tech that we have and find some ways to still stay connected. And so I definitely encourage you to reach out to your advisors, coaches, your peers, your instructors, really everyone, to make sure that you can stay connected and not feel quite as isolated, even though we are all practicing, social distancing to the extent that we can and are able to. Yes, I do have a pup in here with me. He wants to go out, but he has to stay. Yeah. And we'll go over why in a little bit. Adventures in live streaming. Perfect. All right, so just a few things that I definitely just wanted to take a few moments to go over. Kind of depend on who joins the stream and where you want to go. But this content will definitely, I'll save it and I will repost it to our story, and then I'll also post it to our YouTube channel, so that way you can still get the information and maybe rewatch it, share with people who might need to, hear it and know about it as well. And so I definitely encourage you to do that. But really the goal for today, I just want to take a little bit of time to talk about, how I'm feeling, how we all might be feeling, and provide a little bit of information and just some tips, some things from experience. A large part of my job over spring break was actually reading a lot more about online learning, working from home, best practices for remote work. So I definitely just want to share some of that with you all. And so we'll kind of go over that remote work online setting. And then we'll talk a little bit about some things that you might want to incorporate into your learning, because we'll be moving online, kind of especially ways that your note-taking might change and the different ways that now we're going to use notes because you are online, namely being, more of a sort of way to process the information and less of a way to capture information like you would in the in-person classes. And then, we're just gonna really talk a little bit more about registration, just a few reminders, because you do still need to have a PIN to register. And so now is the time to also be reaching out to whoever your advisor is to make sure that you have that meeting. It'll definitely be remote in some way, maybe over Teams, Zoom, a phone call, some sort of chat, just to make sure that your schedule is still working out the way that you hoped and wanted it to. So, let's get going. And, definitely we are always here in the Resource Center. You can DM us directly on Instagram, and, one of the coaches will follow up with you to your Bear Mail account with whatever additional information might be needed. If it's a quick question, we could definitely just answer it right away here on Instagram. But you can also click the link in our bio, and that will take you to a nice sort of page of different resources, URLs you can click on. One of those being the most up-to-date, the official UNC COVID-19 info page. And so definitely anytime you have questions or want to see if there's been any updates that maybe, sort of got lost in your bear mail, just click the link in our bio and you can go straight to that page. It gets updated, every time that UNC leadership sends out messages, they post that there, and just make sure that everybody's in the know. Also, on that link in our bio, it will take you to an academic resources page. And so advisors and student support all across campus have been working really hard to put together just some information to hopefully help you out, or at least inspire more questions that we can follow up with for you. And so with that, go to our academic resources link through our Instagram bio, and you will see just like a whole page of resources and content there that could be really helpful. Things from note taking to reading to success guides to advising information. Really, we tried to put a lot of stuff in there. And if there's ever something that you feel like you don't have the information on, or that has maybe fallen through the cracks a little bit, please let us know. Let me know. And I will pass that information along, and we will, work really hard to find the answers and address that thing that you need some information and support with. Whew. Yes. Sounds good. Give me a little drink here. Even though I'm working from home, still repping UNC gear, which kind of leads into this first sort of segment that I just want to spend a couple minutes talking about, which is just working now online, working remotely, not having, anywhere to go. Like for me, and my whole full-time job is now online, or is now from home. So I literally am one of those people who I am able to just stay at home all day, every day. And so, you might be finding that, now you don't have this physical class to go to. You might still need to be going to work, and maybe your schedule has changed a bit with that. But definitely you no longer, are going to campus to go to class on this regular set schedule. So it's important to figure out and kind of come up with a new schedule. Hello. And so I was saying that if there's, if you just need more support or help with finding that set schedule, absolutely that's what Coach Becca and myself are here for. No matter what your major is, if you just need a little bit of guidance, how do I set up a routine in a day to kind of make sure that there's some semblance of consistency and it's going to work well for you, absolutely let us know, and we want to work with you individually on that. But we have created a worksheet that's available. Click the link in our bio. We also posted a video about it on our Instagram this morning, just really kind of walking through basically the steps of coming up with a new routine now that you might have sort of more flexibility in your day. And so that first thing with setting up a new routine really goes into identifying two key times. First is, when do you feel the most motivated, creative, and productive? All right, and kind of note that down. Stay here. Note that down because that can be the time you set aside to really focus on some of that class and schoolwork. And maybe that time used to be when, you were having to commute to school. And so you could use that to your advantage now. This is Gatsby. He is my Co Workspace and office buddy. Usually he stays downstairs, and we'll kind of definitely get to this as well, because you might be finding in your routine now, you're sharing your routine with your roommates. And so my partner, Preston, has the downstairs living room for his workspace, and he actually also had an important conference call, so Gatsby is chilling up here with me to not interrupt that. Say hi, little bud. Say hi. So, like I was saying, you want to make sure to identify when is really your most creative, productive time, and try to really protect that time of the day to get a lot of work done. And so it's every day work at least a little bit on all of your classes during your productive time. Then the other time you really want to figure out is going to be the opposite. When during every single day can you protect and dedicate a little bit of self-care time, right? And so thinking about your self-care time, Especially right now, like we need to take care of just our mental health and our overall well-being. And so give yourself, an hour at least every single day to just decompress. And it can be really useful and helpful if you find when you kind of naturally hit a little bit of that lull, you're spending more time trying to motivate yourself to do stuff than actually like doing stuff. And so that is the time that's really just best used to recharge your batteries, so that way you can be more productive and more on it when it's your A time. And then lastly, there's B time, which is kind of the baseline. And so that's the stuff you'll use to prepare and maximize your A time kind of schedule. And so that's kind of one good thing about routines, and we have that worksheet available to help you. But then, we also just want to like really think about what is a routine we can be consistent at. And so, one of the benefits of in-person classes is you just, get used to it. Hey, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. I go to this classroom and I sit in this spot and I learn about this thing, and then, I have a break and I walk across campus, and then I sit in this classroom in this spot and learn about this thing. And so we can try to recreate some of that even though we're in this online environment. And so that's where kind of figuring out like what is your routine, try to stick with what you've been doing. So if you're used to having, a 9 or 9:30 class every morning, like try to still get up at the time that you would have, get ready for the day, get to campus, and just kind of maintain that order now. And, when it's class time, then just, start working on the things and kind of get to it. Now we have more flexibility as far as the subjects or the projects that you want to work on during that time. But if you're used to doing classwork and schoolwork at a certain time, then go ahead and keep sticking with that routine. So try to minimize some of the disruption. And again, we can, Becca and I can help you kind of brainstorm and outline what kind of routine that would be, and can kind of be an accountability buddy if you just need somebody to reach out to you. Definitely you can send us an email every Wednesday morning asking for a little bit of motivation to get through the rest of the week, and we can email you back a nice GIF to help get you through. So I think that could be really good. So apart from routines in this online environment, we also want to make sure that we're thinking about our workspace. And so, we all have different levels and abilities as far as like what setting up our workspace means. For me, my full-time job is now at home, and so I have, a workspace that involves like my full desktop monitors. I do a lot of video conferencing. And so, I have like a full microphone set up, along with my like computer. I have a nice big desk, and that works for me at this point just in my life and career. But like when I was an undergrad and I took some online classes, and even for just my normal classes, my workspace was my bed. I just sit on my bed during kind of that dedicated homework time. Sometimes I created like a little space in the corner of my room, and would work, like sit on the floor. When I really needed to focus, I went from like the bed to sitting on the floor to like get it, ready. And then my like senior year, I picked up a desk at a thrift shop. It was really tiny. I literally think it was made for elementary school, but it fit my laptop perfectly in the corner of my room, and so that became my workspace. And then at other times, my workspace was, the kitchen table. This was before I got my tiny desk. Or sometimes I just needed a backup space, but really dedicating like, okay, this corner of the table is my workspace, and when I'm sitting in this chair at the corner of the table, like I am in focus mode and I'm going to get through, outlining this paper or reviewing my notes or whatever it is that I need to do, finishing the module. And so, try to find that workspace without distractions. Of course, distractions might involve things like watching TV while you try to do work. I get it. I definitely did a lot of work on the couch while watching TV in my student life as well. it happens. But of course, anytime I was sitting on the couch with the TV on, work took me, 2 or 3 times longer than it really needed to, than it should have. And I typically got, lower grades on that work. Definitely the feedback was noticeable. And so you have to do, what's going to work for you. So given your space, given your time, given the way that you focus and the way that you work best, you can kind of figure that out. But just make sure that whatever it is, you dedicate time and space to, this is work time versus now your personal time and your personal space, even though, they're kind of in the same right now. But kind of having that nice sort of separation between the working space and the personal space can be a little bit helpful to keep us, focused, on track, and able to, continue through for the rest of the semester and however long we, all might end up needing to work remotely or kind of being inside for a lot of the day and the time. So yeah, when you have your workspace set up, absolutely send us a photo of your work corner, or tag us, right, at UNCO_success. You could also use the hashtag bears from home, and I definitely want to see your photos in your workspace, and we might repost it or share it once we get a few. So let me know. I'll definitely post a photo of my workspace when this finishes up. And yeah, tell me what you like about it and what's working for you. All right, so we went through a lot about working from home, and just kind of the experience that I've been feeling so far and what's been working, and again, those best practices: designate time, find the space, try to keep it separated. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk more, about actual learning in this online environment and what you might find to be different compared to when you were doing face-to-face and in-person. So first, the biggest, kind of most obvious one, you're not in person with all of your classmates, and it might be a little more difficult to ask questions, right? If something in the material doesn't quite make sense, right? We can't just raise our hand or stop into office hours or talk to our instructor right after class. And so that might be a big challenge to just kind of strategize for. And so things that I found helpful when I was taking online classes, as well as when I was teaching online classes, kind of from that perspective that I also found helpful when students would do, is sort of email or contact me with kind of the context of what didn't quite make sense, right? And so since it's a little more difficult than just talking or even pointing out the section in the book, when you do write an email or maybe send if you're using Teams with your instructor or Zoom, just kind of take a little bit of notes on okay, at this point in the lecture on slide 6, I was totally with it, but then bullet point 3 on slide 7, I started to not understand what that meant. Can you point me to some more information? And so the big thing and kind of tip I would say to do and kind of transition to online is just going to have to definitely be a really good sort of self-advocate, right? And just make it really clear when you have a question, reach out, ask your instructor, but you're going to have to, be a little bit more specific potentially in the question. So ask them, today's lecture, slide 7, did not understand this key term. Can we clarify that some more? And so that'll be really important. I always found that really helpful because then it's easy for me to, go back to that slide as well. And typically it's oh, yeah, you're right, that was not as clear as it could be. And then, your classmates might also have a similar question that could be clarified that way. So that'll be really good. Reach out with more questions. Absolutely, it's going to be on you to stay, in touch with your instructor and just make sure that the communication stays really open. So that's one thing. A second sort of tip or thing you might find in transitioning to online is going to be the way that you take notes and use notes, potentially. So when we're in, face-to-face classes, often, right, notes are actually a way for us to like capture that information, right? You're listening, and so you want to fill in the extra information that your instructor was telling you from the from the slides and everything. And so we're actually like trying to like capture as much info as we can. But in the online environment, right, it changes a little bit depending on what your instructor is doing. If they're hosting Zoom meetings for your class, it might not change as much, but potentially, if your instructor is pre-recording lectures, posting, the slides online, or posting recordings of the Zoom, then it becomes less important for your notes to capture that information and save it, and more important for your notes to be really a way to process the information. And so one way that you can sort of process information through your notes rather than straight just like capturing information that I found kind of helpful, and what sometimes have my classes do is I call them like discovery entries, but basically in a notebook you want to write an actual reflection on sort of what that day's like Zoom lecture or the PowerPoints or the recorded video is about. So after you listen to it, and you kind of take notes like you normally would, but then stop and write a little reflection and really kind of think about, okay, like here's what I just listened to, here's how I think it applied to something that we learned earlier in class, write down the context, here's how it applies to that thing that I read, here's how today's lecture applies to this other YouTube video I happen to be watching. Like, use this kind of extra time in your notes to like really think through what it is that you heard and try to build those connections. And sort of taking the time to do these little reflections can also help you determine like what information you need to find some more information on. What terms do you understand? What concepts are clicking, and then what concepts aren't clicking, so you can reach out and get that clarification and that extra help. And so I always like to do it, I'll kind of show you. Ooh, so this is an actual example of like classes I was in. And so yeah, I would start with like this reflection on what I was learning about, and then kind of do some thoughts and notes, and then I would do a bigger like here's how it applies in my life. And so again, I'd put like, okay, here's like the readings that I was doing. Here's like the key kind of terms and concepts, the way it connects. And then, here's how I can connect it to bigger things in my life, take additional notes, thoughts. I always like to doodle when I was taking notes, just because it kind of helped me to, figure it out, process it, and really just, figure out what it was that I needed to talk about, follow up with, these little things, right? Thinking about like, okay, here's a concept that I really want to spend a little bit more time thinking about. Cool. All right. So I would, just encourage like giving that a try and taking, notes that are a little bit more now focused on the context, and seeing these extra, just sort of, information that you need to follow up on. So the big picture there is that of just taking notes to make sure you have the information. Take notes to make sure that you're thinking about the information and processing the information, and finding the ways that you can follow up with your instructor or your classmates moving forward to make sure that you got this and you know what to ask and what else to do on it. So those are kind of two big things I would say. And then, third, similar, like if your instructor is posting recordings and videos, take the time to like rewatch it. If there's a section that you didn't quite catch, or maybe you didn't quite get your notes down, like pause it, rewind it, listen to it again. And that's one benefit that maybe we didn't have in your in-person classes. It's being able to, actually like take that moment and pause. And kind of stemming off of that, in this online environment, like use the opportunity again to leverage other resources, right? So you listen to your class lecture, you're on your discussion threads, you're reviewing the notes, and then when you're doing your reflection in your notes, you notice, hey, didn't quite get what this concept was saying, look it up. Look up more information on it, and then follow up with your instructor and, get some of that clarification, expand on it. But, use this time, and really, since online learning is a bit more, self-guided, you do have to kind of take a little bit more to advocate for your own learning. Do so. Take that extra time in reading. And so the last kind of biggest shift that I've observed and I've personally experienced whenever going from in-person and then an online class structure is using the books and extra materials. We all know you should read the book always for your class, but we all know that sometimes we can get away with skimming the book when you have that in-person class, because you have your instructor there really expanding on it, all your classmates, it's a little more social. And so in online, I found, really reading the book with a lot more intention, really reading it to understand and flesh out the notes, reading it to really learn from the book. It made a big difference for me when I was in online learning compared to in person. Cool. How is everybody feeling? So far, if you have any thoughts or questions, definitely drop a comment. But and I mentioned this at the beginning, but I will we post this information. I'll save it and post it to our YouTube channel. So I was just mentioning, use the technology to stop, rewind, re-listen to pieces. Absolutely. You'll be able to find it on our YouTube channel once we get done as well. I'll edit it down a little bit. And you can get to those links as well as links to a note-taking guide that we've created. So when I was talking about contextual note-taking, using it to really process the information, we do have a worksheet available just to kind of help guide you through that process. You can get to it by clicking the link in our Instagram bio. Click on the academic resources, and there's success guides as well. And we're working on creating some videos to help you kind of navigate that as well. And you can get to our YouTube channel by clicking the link in our bio. Woo! All right. Wow, already been on for half an hour. So kind of rolling through a little bit more and thinking about the rest of the semester. All right, again, keep up to date, right? Check your bear mail regularly, and most importantly, log into Canvas and your email every day. Oh, let's see. Yes. Distractions. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that perspective. I agree. But right now, this is Gatsby. He is here. Luckily, he's kind of more of a cat, but I agree, distractions are everywhere. Yeah, it can be tough. And so kind of earlier I was saying that one thing that's been helping me anyway is really setting up that definitive space and time, that this is my workspace, and trying to really keep it separate from my personal space. But at least I found just the fact that I'm at home is a distraction in itself, because now I'm thinking about what's in the fridge. I kind of want a snack. Ooh, I wonder, what the other people, what my partner's downstairs working in his workspace in the living room, and I can't help but wonder, what's he up to? And it can be a challenge. But part of that is, we just have to, hold ourselves a little bit more, accountable in some ways. And I find I hold myself a bit more accountable when I set micro goals. So knowing distractions are going to be part of the day and part of life is really thinking about, okay, I might be distracted for 5-10 minutes, but I'm going to set a micro goal. Oh, you're welcome. And that micro goal is going to be to go back, sit on my, computer and get another little bit of work done for 15 minutes. And when I get done with 15 minutes, I did my goal, that's great, and then I can set another goal. And I found that kind of helps me, not be quite so hard on myself when I do get distracted by something at home, and able to get focused a little bit more as well. Is there anything that you found that's your game plan or things that have helped you combat like distractions that you think might help you? Yeah. And if possible, closing the door can be helpful too. We don't always have the ability to kind of set up a really specific kind of space. But like when I was taking online classes before I had like a full office and it was like my job, even just being able to like close the door to my room and sort of telling my roommates like, okay, I have to work on this thing for the next 2 hours. I'm not home. Like, I'm not here. I'm going to work. And so if you can, whoever is in your home and just working, around you, see if you can, set up some of those boundaries. And so one thing that has already helped us, because now my partner and I are on week 2 now, I guess, of working from home. So the first thing that we did was actually set up a Co Workspace Agreement. Really informal, just like on a piece of paper, but we both wrote down like, okay, here's going to be our schedules, here's what we kind of need in a workspace, and here are ways that we can help each other. And so if you can do that with, your family or your roommates or whoever you are, at home or in this space with, that could be something sort of helpful to get started. And on that co-workspace agreement, the big things to just make sure to talk about are, okay, when do you plan on working? Sort of what time are you going to start? Kind of how long do you need that more quiet focus time? And then what are your expectations? So if, you're working like in your room and maybe whoever else is in your environment is decided to work at the kitchen table, kind of decide and agree a little bit, like, is it going to be a loud environment, a quiet environment? Do you need to do things like use your headphones versus being able to use the speakers? It's those little things that build up to like bigger distractions and will definitely build up over time. So if you can kind of come up with that sort of agreement and just have it on paper, like, here's the things that we all need, and have it be mutually beneficial, that might help kind of decrease problems down the line and help confront some of those, minimize some of those distractions as well. Really good points. Really good distractions. They're here. All right, so I am going to wrap this up a little bit, but don't worry, I'll definitely be doing more and more of these over the semester on just kind of different topics. Sometimes it might be more of a just drop into chat, again, be connected. But before I finish up this today's stream, I do want to talk about some reminders just as far as registration goes. And so you do still need a PIN to register. So if you haven't met with your advisor or been in touch with them, now is definitely a time to reach out and get those appointments set up. Your advisor will, probably be using either Microsoft Teams, and we have created some just like helpful videos to make sure you can access Teams. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for joining me. Definitely come back next time. But definitely set up a meeting with your advisor. It might be over Teams, it might be over email, you might be able to call them, but you will need to talk to them to get your PIN still. Registration is going to open, the first day is April 6th for priority registration dates, and then based on how many earned credits you have, it will continue after that. And so basically in the next 3 weeks, registration time is going to open. And so I just want to make sure that you are in touch with your advisor, and if you are having any, difficulty, who knows, reach out to us and we can try to see what's happening and help you get in contact with your advisor as well. The other thing to look for, see if you have any holds on your account. If you're not sure, reach out and we can look up that information for you. And if you do have holds, people in the registrar's office, they're working remotely and here to support you. Financial aid is here. The bursar is here to support you. The dean of students, all these different places on campus that you might need to contact to have your hold removed, is they're all working remotely and they're here. And so if there's any questions, please reach out. Let us know. We just want to make sure that registration goes as smoothly as it can during this time. So, part of that takes, though, again, some advocacy on your part, and just anytime you have a question. Doesn't even matter what the question is. Know that Becca and I in the Student Success Resource Center, right, we are the finder of answers for you and for the college. So please just reach out with it, and we'll make sure you get connected with the folks that you need to talk to and get connected with. All right, so thank you for joining this first little live stream. Said I'll definitely have some more throughout the semester. And the next one will actually be next week. So definitely check our posts. I'll, kind of advertise about it, but I'm going to focus on setting up an April calendar, because every month I like to go through and create, this is my little bullet journal, and sort of create a monthly planner. And so I will do that over live next week. So I encourage you to, come join me. I'll do that on April 1st. So that way we can make sure our month is kind of planned out together, and it might be kind of fun. So thank you. Check out a recast of this live stream and information on our YouTube channel. I'll have that up this afternoon. And again, if there's any questions, click the link in our Instagram bio. It'll take you to a whole page of important resources, academic resources, financial aid things, COVID information, our YouTube channel, and a place where you can schedule a virtual appointment or reach out to us. All right, let's go Bears. Tag us in a photo of your workspace as well. Hashtag Bears from Home, or tag our account directly. I want to see how you're working. And we'll see you around. All right. Bye.